Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be looking at a story you might not have heard before
Okay.
from Hindu mythology.
Right.
Now, you've probably heard of Krishna before.
Yes.
Some of his famous stories like fighting the demon king Kamsa
Yeah, those are the classics.
or the epic Mahabharata. But today, we're going to be going off the beaten path
Okay.
to look at the lesser-known story of his friendship with Sudama.
Interesting.
And specifically, we'll be looking at the mystery behind Sudama's poverty.
Oh, okay. This should be good.
Okay.
This story is really a window into how Hindus think about devotion and destiny and even free will.
Right, so let's set the scene.
Okay.
Imagine a young Krishna and Sudama. They're students learning from this wise guru named Sandipani.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they're best friends just learning about the world together.
Right.
One day, the guru's wife,
Guru Mata.
Guru Mata, sends them on what seems like a simple errand to go get firewood from the forest.
Sounds easy enough.
Right.
Yeah.
But then a huge downpour starts. So picture this. Two young boys out in the middle of the forest, totally soaked, freezing cold.
I've been there.
And this is where things get interesting. Sudama, without even thinking about it, takes off all his clothes to keep Krishna warm. He's just standing there, bare-bodied, total selfless devotion.
Wow.
Yeah, this becomes like a turning point in their story. Krishna is obviously super moved by this,
Right.
so he blesses Sudama. But here's where things get a little strange. He also kind of curses Sudama to a life of poverty.
What? A curse? That doesn't sound like Krishna. I mean, he's all about love and compassion.
Right, it seems a little harsh, for sure.
Right.
But to understand why Krishna did this, we have to consider Hindu beliefs.
Okay, how so?
Well, by putting Krishna first, even before his own comfort, Sudama shows that he's not attached to material things.
So like a pure heart.
Exactly. And Krishna recognizes this and wants to protect that purity.
So the curse is more like protection.
Yeah, it's a test. It's
Yeah.
meant to keep Sudama focused on spiritual growth and not get distracted by wealth.
Interesting. So Krishna is saying that real wealth is spiritual, not material?
Right? This idea is really important in Hindu philosophy.
Hmm.
It makes you think about what really matters in life.
It definitely challenges our usual ideas about success.
Okay. So years go by, and Sudama is really struggling.
Oh, no.
His wife sees how hard things are and tells him to go ask Krishna for help.
Okay, that makes sense.
But here's the thing. Sudama doesn't go empty-handed.
What does he bring?
He brings this humble offering of flattened rice,
Bow
pot
pepper.
for Krishna. I know. It seems kind of inadequate, right?
Wait.
For someone as powerful as Krishna.
Yeah, kinda.
But this is where the symbolism is important. Because that poha, even though it's simple, represents Sudama's devotion and his trust in their friendship.
It's all he has to give.
Exactly. It shows how strong their bond is.
So how does Krishna react to this? I mean, it's just poha.
He's overjoyed. He treats it like it's the most precious gift ever. And just like that, he takes away Sudama's poverty, showers him with abundance.
Wow, so Krishna totally honored Sudama's devotion.
Absolutely. This brings up an interesting question for me, though. If Krishna already knew Sudama's heart was pure, why even make him go through poverty? Was it a real test? Or did Sudama's devotion somehow change things?
Oh, that's a great question.
Sure.
That's something that scholars and theologians have debated for centuries.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Some people think everything is predetermined. Krishna knew exactly how Sudama would react.
Like fate?
Right. But others say that Sudama had free will. He chose devotion over comfort, and that choice actually shaped his destiny.
So it's like a chicken or the egg thing.
Exactly. We're left wondering if destiny controls our choices, or if our choices control destiny.
That's pretty deep.
And that's what makes this story so interesting. There are no easy answers. It makes us think about fate, free will, and divine grace.
And it also shows how deep their friendship is. It goes beyond any material stuff.
Absolutely. That poha is a powerful symbol of their history and connection.
This story really makes you think about your own friendships, too.
That's true.
What qualities are important? Are your connections based on shared experiences or something deeper?
Right, like a soul connection.
Exactly. It challenges us to look past the surface and see the true value of the people who stick by us no matter what.
Yeah, and this brings us to a really important concept in Hinduism, bhakti.
Oh, yeah. Bhakti devotion, right.
Exactly. And Sudama's unwavering faith in Krishna, his willingness to endure hardship without complaining, his pure love for his friend. These are all hallmarks of true bhakti.
So like the purest form of devotion.
Exactly. And there are different types of bhakti, but Sudama exemplifies Sakya bhakti, the devotion between friends.
Interesting. So his offering of poha wasn't about appeasing a god. It was about expressing love and remembering their shared past.
You got it. The material value of the gift didn't matter. It was the emotional weight behind it.
It was about the feeling.
Precisely. This story shows us that bhakti, in its purest form, goes beyond rituals and offerings. It's about the deep connection between the devotee and the divine. Or in this case, between two friends bound by love.
It almost seems like Sudama's poverty becomes a symbol of his spiritual wealth.
Oh.
Because even though he was struggling, his focus was on Krishna, not on material things.
That's a very insightful observation. And it speaks to the idea that true fulfillment comes from nurturing genuine connections and cultivating selfless devotion.
Which brings up another question. Did Krishna see Sudama's poverty as a sign of his spiritual strength? Was it like a badge of honor?
That's a really interesting question. It gets at the heart of this story's complexity. On one hand, there's the very real suffering of poverty. But on the other hand, Sudama's spirit never breaks. His devotion never wavers.
So it's a paradox. Was the poverty a curse, a test, or maybe even a strange kind of blessing? What does it say about how Krishna views true wealth and devotion?
It really makes you think.
It does.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how we define good and bad, blessing and curse. Maybe for Krishna, Sudama's poverty had like a bigger purpose.
I've always struggled with this idea of poverty being a gift. It's hard to see it that way when it causes so much real suffering. What do you think about that?
I totally get where you're coming from. And it's important to acknowledge how hard poverty is. But in this story and in Hindu beliefs, there might be another way to look at it.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, think about it. What if for Sudama, material wealth would have actually been a distraction, like an obstacle on his path to spiritual growth?
Okay, so the challenges he went through, even though they were hard, actually made him stronger.
Exactly. They deepened his devotion and brought him closer to Krishna.
So it was like a crucible, forging his spirit, refining his devotion.
Yeah, exactly. And this connects to a core idea in Hinduism. Hardship can be a catalyst for spiritual awakening.
It's not about liking suffering.
Right.
It's about seeing how it can help us understand our true nature and connect with the divine.
Absolutely. And it also ties into the concept of karma.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. How does karma fit into this story?
So karma is the idea that our actions have consequences. In this life and in future lives, some scholars believe that Sudama's poverty might have been a result of things he did in the past, like a karmic debt he had to work through.
So even with destiny and divine intervention, our choices still matter.
Absolutely. Hinduism doesn't say that we have no control over our lives. It recognizes fate and karma. But it also emphasizes free will and the power of our choices to shape our future.
It's like we have a path laid out, but we still get to decide how we walk it.
Exactly. And Sudama shows us how to do that. He could have been angry about his poverty, resent Krishna for the curse, but instead he chose faith. He chose devotion. He saw his situation not as a punishment, but as a chance to grow.
Which brings us back to that moment when he shielded Krishna from the rain. Was that choice destiny or free will? How did that one act change his life?
That's the question at the heart of this story, isn't it? And I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. Maybe Sudama was meant to face challenges, to walk a path that would test his spirit.
But his choice in that moment, his selfless act of love, maybe that shifted things.
Exactly. Maybe it influenced his destiny. And that's what makes this story so powerful. There are no simple answers. It doesn't tell us exactly how fate or free will work. It just shows us the mystery and complexity of life.
So we're not just learning about a myth. We're exploring these big questions about choice, consequence, and divine grace.
Absolutely. And for me, one of the most important takeaways is that real wealth isn't about material possessions. It's about the strength of our relationships, the depth of our devotion, and the choices we make when things are tough.
I love that. It reminds us that even when things are out of our control, we can always choose how we react, how we deal with challenges, and what kind of person we become.
Exactly. And this story shows us that sometimes the most valuable things aren't found in palaces, but in the hearts of people who love us unconditionally, who see our true worth, and who are there for us through thick and thin.
As we've been talking, I keep thinking about how relevant this story still is, even though it's from ancient mythology.
Totally. It's about things we all experience: friendship, hardship, and wanting something more than the material world.
It also makes us question what we think success means. We often think it's about money and status, but Krishna and Sudama show us a different way.
Exactly. True success is about having a rich inner life, about having strong connections and living according to our values.
And maybe it's about facing challenges with grace and resilience. Seeing hardship as a chance to grow and change.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into this story, I want to ask our listeners something.
Yeah, let's bring it back to them and their own lives. What do you think? If you were Sudama, if you were in his shoes, would you have chosen to stay poor, but keep that strong devotion to Krishna? Or would you have wanted a more comfortable life, even if it meant maybe losing some of that connection?
Yeah. Would you have been resentful or would you have looked for the opportunity to grow from the situation?
It's a tough question for sure. It really makes you think about what's important to you. What are you willing to give up for something you believe in?
It's so easy to focus on material things. These days, we're always told that success is about having more stuff, a bigger house, a nicer car, Totally. But this story reminds us that there's more to life than just things. Real happiness comes from somewhere else.
Like from our relationships and the things we're passionate about, from that deep devotion in our hearts.
Exactly. It's about appreciating what we already have instead of always wanting more.
So as we finish up our deep dive into the story of Krishna and Sudama, let's think about this. If you had to pick between material comfort and a life of deep devotion, which one would you choose?
What does the story teach us about being a good friend? About how fate works and how the choices we make shape our lives?
It's something to really think about. How do your choices reflect what you value? What does success really mean to you?
This story of Krishna and Sudama, it's not just some old myth. It's about things we all experience. It's a story that people from all over the world can relate to.
It reminds us that true friendship isn't about money or status, that being devoted to something can help us through tough times, and that sometimes the best things in life aren't things at all, but who we are on the inside.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through Hindu mythology. We hope you learned something new and that maybe you'll see the world a little differently now.
Yeah. Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep exploring all the amazing things there are to discover out there.